You're listening to The Critical Thought, where we challenge our listeners to use critical thinking when examining the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Hi, I'm Daniel.
I'm JT.
And the purpose of today's video is to talk to you about how to rescue your loved ones from the Jehovah's Witnesses. JT, let's start there. Can you rescue your family? How do you do that? Or do you start with yourself first?
Well, yes, you can help your family.
Okay.
But I'm going to be real honest with you, Daniel. I believe the first thing you need to do is to address self first. That is the most important thing.
Why?
Well, we get a lot of letters. People call us all the time and they ask us, how do I get my family? I just found this is not the truth. I want to get everybody out. And what happens is they themselves have not prepared themselves for what they will have to deal with. This process of leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses is not an easy process. It involves a lot of emotional drain. And we have seen that through our videos and people we've talked to over the last few years, the toll it takes on people and their families. And that's why we tell people the first thing to do is to take care of yourself first. You have to mentally get your mind together, as it were, because it's a strike. It's like someone has pulled a rug from underneath you when you find out this is not the truth.
In fact, you're giving me an aha. You spoke to me about this, about the airplane and the oxygen mask metaphor. Would you talk to our folks about that in terms of taking care of self first?
Yes. The best example I can think of, if anyone who's ever flown, one of the first things that happens when you get into your seat, you'll have the stewardess or they will come out and they will do a little demonstration for you. And that demonstration is very interesting because it goes against what many people would consider a natural thing to do. She will ask you, or he will ask you, when the mask falls down, to put the mask on who if you're traveling with small children?
Me first. Self.
That's exactly right. Now, the normal tendency would be, I'm going to put it on my little child over here.
True.
But that's not what they tell you. They say, put it on yourself first. Do you know why?
Why?
The reason why is because if you're in the process of putting it on your child and you pass out because of a lack of oxygen, then both of your lives are at risk.
And so it is when it comes to rescuing your family from the organization. If you yourself don't have the oxygen mask squarely on, you yourself may be in trouble and not be able to help your family. Is that the point you're making?
That is exactly the point. And we have seen that over the years. We tell people you need to emotionally prepare yourself for the possible backlash. And that is what people we have seen are simply not prepared for. We have people many times will say, well, when I found this wasn't truth, I wanted to tell everybody. They have lied to us. They've misled us. And they were not prepared for what their reaction would be. It makes me think of the way it is when we go to school. What happens is all of us remember when we was in first, second grade, they taught us when the bell rings, you get up and you go out and it's a fire drill. Okay, yeah. So by the time you get to high school, no one has to tell you to get up and go out because you know what it is. Okay.
True.
Now, that's the way it is for Jehovah's Witnesses.
What do you mean?
They are literally trained as to how to respond when you approach them with something that has the smell. Aren't you questioning the organization? And so this is the problem that people run into. They want to help, but they're not prepared for what the backlash will be. And when it shuts down, it's very difficult. It's like, I tell people, it's like an ATM machine on that third try. It keeps your bank card. That's the way Jehovah's Witnesses are taught to shut down. We've seen the videos. If you watch the videos of witnesses being approached on the street, the minute that the person identifies that he is a former Jehovah's, they shut down. It's the training. And so you have to understand, they are trained to do that. They have been training all their lives for the day when you would step to them, and here you are.
So you're saying that in order to rescue your family from the Jehovah's Witnesses, you yourself must be ready and rescue yourself emotionally, financially, logically, critical thinking, all those things.
Absolutely.
How, you know me, on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
10 being people are prepared. They've got the oxygen mask on. They've done their homework emotionally, financially. That's a 10. 1 is the opposite. Based on your experience, on a scale of 1 to 10, how prepared are most witnesses to leave the organization once they found that it ain't the truth?
It's very low. 1, maybe 2.
Really?
And the reason why, because it's like having a rug pulled from under you. Everything you built your life around, you realize now it's crumbling.
So where were you on a scale of 1 to 10 when you discovered that there were some big time hiccups below the iceberg?
Oh man, 1.
You were 1.
Because I had made life decisions, like most Jehovah's Witnesses. We made career decisions. We made educational decisions. We made decisions as to who we would marry and who we would love. All those decisions we had made. How we would treat our family, our relatives, our coworkers. So these are all decisions you've been making for the last 10, 20, 30 years. And now the rug is pulled from under you. So most of us are not prepared for that. And the point we're trying to make is the same as you were not prepared and I were not prepared. That's the same thing with our family who don't know. So when you just walk to them and just throw this out there and give them 50 pages to read, this is why people often get that backlash that they get.
So you've described the what. What is the problem? Can you talk to us now about what is the solution? How to get prepared, Coach? How do you do that if, in fact, you're a 1 or 2 or 3 on self-preparation? How does the husband or the wife or the grandma, what are the top 2 things that you'd recommend they do to move up the preparation scale?
It's mainly going to be mental.
Okay.
It's going to be because the very thought of if I approach my wife or I approach my mother and they shut down, am I mentally prepared to realize that I may not be able to deal with them for years to come because they will cut you off at the knees? So it's really more of a mental preparation. And we have seen what happens when people are not. The backlash is tremendous. I have an example I often thought of.
In fact, I want to ask about this story that I think you mentioned to me about maybe how someone wasn't prepared. Would you tell our viewers about this story and then maybe what you've coached that person to do or should do to get better prepared? Tell us.
Yeah, we had an individual who had been a good Jehovah's Witness all their life, doing whatever the organization told them to do. And when they found out this was not the truth, they just lost it in terms of, I just got to let everybody know. And the first person they went to without any consideration was their spouse. And they just told them, no, this is not the truth. They've been lying to us. They've been taking advantage of us. And they were not prepared.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. That's my girl. That's my best friend. That's my wife. And so how did this story go?
Well, it didn't go well. In fact, when the person returned home from work one day, their wife, their spouse, for many years, was gone. And it was interesting what happened. They were gone because both in-laws, as well as his parents and her parents, they all came, packed her up, and moved her out.
Now you say gone, bro. What you mean gone? Gone up to Walgreens? Gone up to Sunoco? I mean, what you mean gone?
Well, they had packed her up because, remember the article in the Watchtower a few years back where it says, if you believe that you are in absolute spiritual endangerment, you can leave your spouse. And so this is what they told her. You are in absolute spiritual endangerment because this man has left God. And so that was their justification. They packed her up and moved her out, and they would not let him know where his wife had moved. She left.
And so what's the back end to this story? So what happened, and what do you think the person could have, should have done differently if they were to do it all over again for our viewers?
One of the things that we had a gentleman a few years back, I liked his style of approach. He was an elder. He started out by asking questions. We've talked to a few other people who've also been very successful by asking questions. Questions that would simply make them think. In fact, one gentleman said, I would ask my wife, if you had a Bible study and they raised this question, how would you answer it? And she would just go on and on and on. And after a while, it reached a point where there was questions that she could not answer because there were no answer to them.
So wait a minute. You're saying that one of the things that people should do to get themselves prepared and get their family prepared is not planning what to say, but planning what to ask.
Yes.
We say in the business world, better questions are the answer. If you want better outcomes, you got to start to ask others better questions. But better than that, you become the questions you ask yourself. Too often times, I find, like in business and like when it comes to truth and religion, that folks aren't asking themselves the hard-hitting questions. You're saying that You've got an example of an elder that prepared his family by asking his wife questions so that they started to self-conclude.
Yes.
And why is self-conclusion or self-discovery so much more powerful than someone else giving them the answer that something's wrong with the organization?
The reason why is because this allows the person to realize this is the conclusion I have come to myself. We often have people who will write us and they'll say, JT or Lady C, send us an article that I can show to my mama and she'll leave the organization. Well, that's not how it works. That person or that individual has to be willing to take the time to ask those critical thinking questions and accept what the answers are.
Outstanding. So as we wrap up this particular video, how to rescue your loved ones from the Jehovah's Witnesses, the theme seemed to be the first person you need to rescue is yourself. Like a baseball diamond, you want to round the bases and hit a home run. On first base is you. On second base is your wife. On third base is your family. But I hear JT saying you can't get to second or third until you first touch first. And first is having a self-discovery conversation with yourself. Self-discovery is more powerful than your presentation. You got to ask yourself some tough questions. And then you go to second base and you ask your wife critical thinking questions.
Yes.
You do the same thing with your family. Yes. You make sure that everybody's buttoned up. And since everyone has drawn some conclusions on their own, it's not that you're pushing, you're pulling.
Yes.
You're pulling them out of the organization,
yes.
or in fact, they are pulling themselves. Those are the dots that I'm connecting. Am I missing anything major, or do you have any concluding comments?
That's pretty much what it is. I tell people all the time, the same way as we became Jehovah's Witnesses, it was a process, same way we're going to have to leave. It's going to be a process.
Outstanding. This is Daniel.
This is JT.
And my final closeout is the truth is like an iceberg. The truth is usually 3 levels deep. Melt those icebergs. Ask those tough questions. Hey, JT, you just pulled me off camera and corrected me about something. What did you correct me on and why, bro?
Well, something you said, which I thought it kind of caught my eye and my ear a little bit. You said we're trying to pull people out.
Yeah, I did.
That actually is not correct.
Okay, tell us more.
That's why we tell people they need to help people think for themselves. Because that's why people call us often, is because they want to try and pull someone out. You can't pull another grown person out. You can only give them the information so that they can make the decision. Because the same way, as I said before, the way they came in is the way they come out.
And so you said to me off camera, Daniel, the correction that we need to make for the camera. And by the way, we're filming this so that you know we're keeping it real. That it's not about pulling people out. It's about people walking out.
Yes.
On their own. Finalize that point.
So when a person is presented with information that makes them stop and think and come to their own conclusion, then they're able to walk out on their own the same as we walked in.
You've seen videos that I've shot that says, hey, if you still believe, stay in. But if you found that there's some hiccups below the iceberg, run, don't walk. Take care of yourself. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon.
JT, we're out.
You know, Lady C and I, we were sitting here discussing what it was like when we first left in terms of trying to help family and friends and people that we knew. And like we see today, we made a lot of the same mistakes when we first left. Is there one experience that kind of like stands out about when you were trying to help get somebody out?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I remember when I had a really good friend. And when we got married, she was the one of my bridesmaids in the wedding.
She was in the wedding.
And you know, after you keep in touch with people because she lived in Ohio, and you keep in touch with people, but you don't talk as frequently as you do when you live near them, right? So we kept in touch, and so I got comfortable enough to talk to her about some things I had read on the internet, and not really thinking about. I had read Crisis of Conscience, and I had done all this research, and you and I had done a lot of discussing of the different teachings about the organization, and we were able to understand it, and it made a lot of sense because of the way we did our research.
We did the critical thinking. We had a chance to wade through it, get our thoughts together, and realize what we were dealing with.
But when I approached her one time,
that's it.
with a boatload of information.
Oh, yeah.
Not thinking that, you know, it's overwhelming to her.
Yes.
I'm not thinking about, you know, what kind of life she was living. You know, was she just now, you know, attaining some Watchtower goals that she always wanted?
Yep, that's exactly
and now
right.
here I am to pull the rug from off and under her to tell her that, hey, this ain't the truth.
This ain't the truth.
Follow me and JT and let's go, you know. And so I just want to share a little bit about an email that I got from her, just a few little quotes in here. So after I had talked to her about this not being the truth, she actually said that I could trust her.
Yep.
And I could send her anything, and
We can talk freely.
right, she's unbiased. You know, I'm gonna understand you. I'm not gonna stop
I'm not
being
going
your
to judge.
friend.
I'm not going to judge.
Right.
I want to hear what you got to say.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, right.
So I'm thinking, wow, I made a lot of progress because I'm gonna send this link to her, and it was a website on the internet that was dealing with this research that someone had put together of a lot of Watchtower topics. It had a lot of their links to the Watchtower and Awake magazines and the different
It
teachings
was
and
all
stuff.
society's publications.
Right.
That's all. No commentary, just straight Watchtower publications.
Right. And so she sent me an email back, and she said, "Dear Kathy, I thought a lot about our conversation a couple of weeks ago. Mentally reviewing our conversation, I've become very sad and surprised when you told me the choice you and JT made against Jehovah's organization." Right. So the things that I had showed her, she said it was against
Didn't
Jehovah's
matter
organization.
that they wrote the stuff. That's the funny part. See, they wrote the stuff, not us. We just said, go check this out, because this is what they wrote. But
Exactly.
you're against God if you show us what God's organization wrote. You know, the logic, the way witnesses think, it's amazing.
Exactly. And so she went on to talk about that she felt that the people who print these things are apostates. And so, you know, she just went through this whole laundry list of things about, you know, why she didn't agree with me.
Now, once again, this is stuff the Watchtower wrote. It's very important to understand this. This is a site that has no commentary. This is just Watchtower articles, published material from them. Their own material now.
Right. And she said, I'm not going to try to and persuade you of what you believe because you have made your decision and I have made mine.
That's right.
She says, so I feel since we no longer have those things in common we once shared, we should not waste each other's time by keeping in contact with one another. So here, the same girl, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to still be your friend. Yep. I'm still going to be hanging out with you.
I'm willing to consider both sides.
Right. And even on the phone conversation that we had prior to her getting the link, me and JT were invited to her home.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were getting ready to go visit my parents in Ohio.
That's right, yeah.
And we were invited to her home to a little get-together. So I told JT, I said, well, I guess that means we're uninvited.
They withdrew the invitation, man.
That was so crazy.
And that was over a decade ago.
Interesting.
Man. You know, I always enjoy talking to Daniel because he always comes up with some type of analogy that kind of makes you just, pause and think about something for a second. In Daniel's profession as a trainer, as a coach, he made the point that as he worked with businesses, he often sees that it is very important to ask the right questions. And I tell you, ladies, it really drives home the point I always tell people, Watchtower is basically a business. We just move their products. But, it's interesting when he made the point about asking the right questions. It's interesting how the Watchtower over the years has understood the power of asking questions. That is why in practically every publication they'll have a little question down at the bottom, go back up there, get the answer out of the paragraph. And if you don't give the answer from the paragraph, it's not acceptable. So they understand when you start asking people questions, it makes them pause and think. The problem for witnesses is your thinking must be connected to whatever's in the paragraph. You're not able to come to any conclusion on your own. And that's why, as you mentioned before, during the Watchtower lesson, if someone starts answering the questions and nobody's giving the answer that the Watchtower wants you to give, the brother just keep going around until he finally gets, this is the only acceptable answer. So asking questions has a tremendous amount of power, and that's the whole concept behind working many times with your family, trying to get them out.
Yeah.
You make them pause and think.
And what's kind of nice about asking the right questions will do that. Because what people have found is, and especially with sometimes young people, as young people, they'll often ask questions. And of course, parents will say, don't ask that question. Why? Because I said so. And that shuts it down. Well, you can probably get away with that with children, but we're talking about adults.
True.
So when society, when witnesses start asking questions and they start getting shot down, that should really be a flag to people. When someone doesn't want you asking questions, why are you meddling around those kind of issues? That's really your red flag when someone tries to shut you down for asking questions, especially intelligent, logical, critical thinking questions. You should be shut down for that.
Right. So JT, you and I both know that one of the things that comes up in our family is my father.
Oh yeah.
And when he meets everybody at meetup groups and stuff like that, he continually tells everybody, they left me in. They didn't tell me about this not being the truth. And so then we'll say to him, well, did you get out? And he'll be like, yeah. Did you read Christ as a Conscience? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, who told you about it? And he said, you did. And so we'll start laughing and we'll be like, well, then how did we leave you in? Well, what it was is he's frustrated because we didn't tell him the exact time that we left. We gave ourselves a chance to get ourselves together after we left so that we could be ready to help our family. And when my father found out we had left, he was frustrated because we left him in.
Y'all left me behind.
But it wasn't long after we left that, and then he accused you of he had called JT.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah.
And he had called JT to ask him about a part on the talk. And JT, what did you say to him?
I just told him how to get the talk out. Just didn't discuss anything about the organization. Just this is how you get the talk out. This and that, and go on.
Right.
Because we realized at that time it wasn't the time to let him or discuss that matter with him. And so that's the whole point. We try to make the people, take your time, get yourself situated, get yourself mentally together, how you want to deal with it, and then when you start presenting things to family and friends, you're ready for whatever decision or however they respond. You're ready because being part of a high control group, they have been trained to do this. So it doesn't come as a surprise, and more importantly, it doesn't throw you emotionally.
True.
That's the whole
thing.
Yeah.
So give or take, we know that when we told Daddy, he was like out of there like a flash. But then we found out from my mom that Daddy wasn't even going to the Kingdom Hall.
Yeah, no.
But it was just, I think for him, it was that mental connection, thinking he had to be there, knowing he wasn't there, knowing he wasn't doing
fun.
Yeah, what he thought he should be doing. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but when we helped him to release all that, it was like, he was over here with us, but it was like he was frustrated with us. Because he said, I could have been out 8 months sooner, and all that.
Yeah,
It was just
true.
It was just funny.
That was funny.
It was funny.
That was so funny.
It's funny. So in my own personal experience, my recommendation to people would be, as you and Daniel stated in the video, to, get yourself to safety.
Yeah.
And, for me personally, I found that, finding a new clientele of friends helped me. Because as we began to meet new people and have new different associations with different people that were not Jehovah's Witnesses, then all those people that we had, lost as friends, then we were able to basically replace them with other friends.
And that's what you do. You never replace them. Yeah, that's the whole thing. And that's what the backlash, and that's what gets people, because when the wall comes down, you have nobody. In fact, this is one of the things that we actually would recommend, and a lot of people have done this, and we just want to share this with you guys. Take the time, if you have already left the organization, because one of the things the organization does, and they do it very well, they want to create an environment where you feel you are alone. You're by yourself. There's nobody. You need us. And so keep in mind, this is by design. This is by design. For example, anyone who saw the summer convention videos where a family was being taught by the Watchtower, this is how you treat your child if they no longer agree with what we publish in our pamphlets. You treat them like dirt. Now, this is by design. So they want people to feel isolated, to feel alone. If you have left the organization, then you know. But that's okay. We want to be able to take these lemons and turn them into lemonade. And this is what we recommend. And we've talked to a lot of people over the years who this is what they actually do. And we just thought this would be a good thing to share with you guys as well. If you have left the organization, take the time to go back through some of the videos, not only just our videos, but any of the videos that you have watched in the last year or two. And you will see people just like you and I posting in these videos. Reach out and contact these people. Many of them have shared experiences that may be identical to yours. This is an opportunity for you to expand your circle. You do not have to feel like you're alone. Absolutely not. Reach out to people who've left and share your own experiences. We have so many people who over the years, they've told me, I went back, I emailed this guy that was on one of our, he put a post, I emailed the guy, and now we taking vacation this summer. So all kinds of families are getting together, people are making new friends. This is what it's all about. We have to realize that there may be those who will never leave the organization. They'll just never leave. In fact, we often tell people, there are some people, because of their life and what they need in their personal life, they may need to stay. It's just as simple. Some people need someone telling them what to do all day, every day. It's just as simple. And unfortunately, it may be part of your family or part of my family. Those individuals, regardless of what you say to them, what you talk to them about, they'll never leave. And we have to come to a realization of that. I tell people, we often make the accusation that Jehovah's Witnesses are a high control group or a cult. Sometimes you'll find people act surprised. Well, they're doing what high control groups do. They're doing what cults do. It's just that simple. They're doing exactly what they would do because of where they are. And we have to acknowledge that. We have to recognize that. And part of that recognition comes to the point where I may not be able to have a relationship with my brother again. It's sad, it's unfortunate, but that's the reality. I know people who left when they was 18, 19 years old. They're 50, 60 years old. Their family hasn't spoken to them in 30, 40 years. And they've come to the conclusion, this is the way in which they will continue to live their lives. But the point we're trying to make is you don't have to stop living. You don't have to stop living. You can bounce back and roll over and keep on going. And there are different ways that you can do that. So take the time, look back through our videos that people who posted, look through other people who have put out videos. And there are a lot of good videos out there that people put out all the time, covering all kinds of subject matter. Look through those videos at those comments. And if you see someone who related experience, that sounds all like the same thing I went through. Contact them, reach out, and what you will find, those people that you reach out to, they will not reject you. See, sometimes we keep running behind people who have simply no regards for us, our feelings, or our thoughts. Then why? Reach out to people who have experienced something very similar to you. There is life after Watchtower. The Watchtower teaches us you can't make it without us. It's like a woman being married to a no good man who keeps telling her, you ain't nothing without me. That's what the Watchtower has told each and every one of us. You ain't nothing without us. That ain't true. We work for a book publishing company. I'm sorry, I can't dress it up any other way. I mean, if you want to make it religious and some divine prophecy and some fulfillment, some Bible prophecy, fine. If that's how you want to view the Watchtower, fine. But it's a book publishing company. We hawk books for a living. They promised us something they could not deliver. And so we need to come to grips with, many people need to understand this. They took advantage of our personal desires. People who were sick, people who were blind, people with no legs, people who live in countries under tremendous persecution of its citizens and so forth. They offered you something. Jehovah's Witnesses got something for everybody. No matter who you are. In the witness bag, he can offer you something. The problem is, as we are seeing now, they cannot deliver. And that's why, you're seeing more and more people. I mean, it's almost embarrassing. I've watched some of the videos of former Jehovah's Witnesses who they have videoed Kingdom Hall, Sunday meetings. Nobody's there. Nobody's there. I mean, and so you have literally millions and millions of basically good people, sincere people, but they're just tired and worn out Jehovah's Witnesses.
True.
I mean, I think about the number of witnesses that come on sites like this. These people tired. The Watchtower says you shouldn't be curious about nothing a former Jehovah's Witness has to say. You shouldn't have any interest in anything that is taking place in former Jehovah's Witnesses' life. Man, they be up on these sites all day long because they're curious, because they are not satisfied. If a Jehovah's Witness is satisfied with what the slave, the faithful and discreet slave says to them, they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here. And as a former elder, I know that. So every time I see a Jehovah's Witness post on any of my sites, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's another tired Jehovah's Witness. So they have a lot of people, like I said, who are sincere, good-natured people. I mean, most people I personally know who are witness, good people. Give you their shirt off their back, but they're tired. You know, it's like when Jesus was on the earth. He looked at the people, he like, well, the Pharisees beating y'all to death. And that's what's happening to so many witnesses. And there are witnesses who are watching this video right now. They know, boy, I tell you, I just can barely make it. And it don't have to be like that. But when you are following many times what is nothing more than opinions of men, as we often say, that's been elevated to divine status, it becomes like Jesus says. They bind down heavy loads on people and they make people carry it. And yet they don't carry it themselves. So everybody wants to be able to get their family out many times. But if you're going to try to help your family or friends get out, make sure you approach it the right way. You're ready if they don't accept it. But more importantly, you've taken care of yourself and you've given them the opportunity. What they do with that opportunity, that's entirely up to them.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I think everything that you said right now is really, something that people, when they hear what you're saying and they're showing people, and you're talking about all the things that they don't have to live like or live under anymore, they want to go back and tell their family this same conversation that you're saying right now.
Yes.
And I think that's where the problem comes in, because they're not ready for that discussion.
They are not ready.
That's what it is.
I mean, there are people who have taken the time and they've gone for months, sometimes years, before they finally come to the conclusion, you know what, I can't do this no more. I have looked at it, I just can't do this no more. Well, like Lady C says, you've already gone through that gauntlet, that up and down, and now you just throw 200 pages of old magazines at your cousin. He can't deal with it. He's not ready.
Right.
And so we have to acknowledge that. And so that's what we basically want people to understand. Take full advantage. We have the internet. And I tell anybody I talk to in private conversation, the greatest respect I have are for Jehovah's Witnesses who left in 1976. I've talked to so many of these people, and they talk about what it was like leaving in 76. They were alone. They had nobody to talk to. There was no internet. They couldn't touch base. Today we can. So we really have right in our fingertips tools that we can use. If you're feeling lonely, like, man, what am I here by myself? My mom won't talk to me. My brother won't talk to me. My daddy ain't talking to me. Reach out to people who've already left, and they will talk to you. We have to bounce off each other and understand that we can use each other to help each other. The Watchtower, they haven't cornered the market on love and kindness and self-control and goodness. They haven't cornered the market on that. They might think they have, but they haven't. There are lots of people that you will meet, good people, kind people. Once again, will give you the shirt off their back. All you have to do is take your time and reach out. And especially people who have formerly left this organization, because we all went through the same gauntlet. As they often say, there's no dignified way that you will leave this organization. They will dog your name and dog you for good. But that everybody went through that.
Yeah, the assassination of character.
Assassinate your character.
As much as I try to keep my name and our name, clean and everything, and trying to show people that we were the same people that we were when we were in the organization, just the fact that we left the Watchtower is what actually made us look like bad people in their eyes.
Once you stop hawking the books for the society, your name is trash. You just got to accept that. That's just the way it's going to be. It ain't going to change because that's their program. They have set it up that way. And that's why when you talk to people who leave, they often will laugh like, I can't believe the stuff that we did, the views that we held.
Right.
Man, we was just out there. I mean, it's amazing. But we're going to be okay. We're going to be just fine. This whole idea that if you don't agree with some pamphlets out of the United States written by some guys in New York, that God going to kill you, man, that stuff don't wash anymore. And more people are coming and realizing. Even the Jehovah's Witnesses on the site don't even believe that stuff. That's why they're here. Anytime you see a Jehovah's Witness on a former Jehovah's Witness site, he ain't buying everything they're selling down at the Kingdom Hall. And so do what you can to help the family, help friends, But basically, make sure you take care of yourself, your mental health, your physical health, and go from there. And you'll find, like I always tell people, there is life outside of Watchtower.
And we're living proof of that,
We're living
people.
proof of it, man. Life outside of Watchtower.
Right.
Take care.
This has been Kathy Thomas.
This is JT.
This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers.